For sure. Yeah.
And with that, I want to welcome Will Greenblatt from OutLoud Speakers School. How you doing, Will?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's
Yeah.
a busy time. We're growing. There's lots of stuff going on, and it's always great to talk about pitching.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things where, so many of the projects, all the stuff they talk about mission critical gets focused on in this recession that we're all going through, right? Because the economy is kind of collapsing in a lot of ways and the pandemic is hitting people pretty hard. They go, okay, what do we need to do to keep the lights on? But then, of course, the actual job of disseminating the information and the story of what your company actually does gets a little lost or shoved to the back burner. But of course, biased as to what I do, I'm really, really passionate about helping people do that. But there's a great opportunity that you can keep getting your message out there, but of course through this new platform, either through Zoom or through video content marketing. So that's really what the Powerful Pitch series is all about. It is about in-person communication, but also how do you step in front of a camera and really tell your story in an emotionally engaging and logically clear and compelling way. So we're covering the first part of that today. We're covering awareness, and I'll jump into it now if that works.
Yeah, well, go ahead and pull up your
Sure.
presentation, but let me frame this for the people that are here. We used to do all the live events. You'd come out and you'd help out, you'd coach, and you do. We can see your whole thing. We can't see the presenter mode, by the way.
All right.
And you just finished helping, I think, 3 TechStars programs
Yeah.
for their demo day, and all the demo day, which normally is a stage, and you've helped them do the stage stuff before, now is all virtual.
Yeah.
Can you tell us, just give us a little brief glimpse into that? Maybe it's on the next slide. I don't know.
Yes. Well, I'm going to talk about who we've worked with, but just to your point more specifically, like TechStars was always very much a model of get to this big live demo day event. And at those demo days, VCs and mentors and members of the community and interested parties would come to this big, they used to do it at the CBC Glenn Gould studio, which is this great venue downtown. And people would come get all dressed up and meet and schmooze in the lobby first. And it really created this energy of almost live theater, and everything was done like a live theatrical event. And now it's all different. I was talking to the Equivesto guys. They were saying being at Collision, Collision had to switch to a virtual event. And this is really new territory for a lot of people. But, Tarek and Sunil at TechStars are doing an amazing job with their founders, and Bonnie and Jivica and Matt over at the Allied Space TechStars that I was working with, and Isabel and Evan, everybody, they're doing really, really good jobs. Trying to help their founders from their own homes create an exciting, engaging, clear pitch that people will want to connect to, not being there on a demo day with all the energy in the room, with all the energy of a live performance. How do you do that, right? That's why they brought me in, and that's where I come in, is helping you create an amazing, fantastic cinematic. That's my dog chiming in the background. How do you create that cinematic, exciting experience for somebody listening through this sort of technological potentially barrier that we have, but how to use it to your strength and start to use the medium for your advantage. So I'll tell you a bit about me first. I'll get into what we do, and then we'll get into the content. So this is little 7-year-old me. This was the first thing I ever did professionally, which was a movie. I fell into acting at the age of 7 because my family was in it, and I got an agent through my family, and I got this big feature film right away, which was a weird coincidence. I just happened to book this role, and it kind of kickstarted this acting career. And then I kept doing it, and I did it all through my preteens and teens, and I just kind of acted consistently through my whole life while going to school, or trying to at least. And then I thought, okay, for sure, this is what I'm going to do with my career. This is it. So I went to theater school, National Theater School of Canada in Montreal, but I hated it so much. I just hated the way they taught us. Really, it was a really toxic environment when I was there for a number of reasons, but I left feeling jaded, feeling like this was not a career I wanted, thinking that what I thought acting was not really what it was, and just kind of feeling generally miserable, insecure, and not happy with the kind of person I was or the career I was doing. So I left, and I was like, I want to travel. So I went to Spain. I got my teacher's certificate to teach English, and I started doing that in Spain. And then I realized I actually love this job, and I love traveling. So I decided to do it again in China. But in China, I became part of my first startup venture. And we started this company, which was originally supposed to be a school, but turned into a coaching agency. So we did Western business etiquette coaching. and English training for Chinese professionals, and sort of Chinese etiquette coaching consulting for Western business professionals in China. And that was called West Group. And then I came back to Canada and sort of put it all together for this company called OutLoud Speakers School, which is actors teaching communications. And then I still do acting and music as a performer sort of in my spare time, although this is definitely my number one venture. So we are actors and coaches teaching communication skills. What does that mean? We help founders and teams tell powerful stories. As I was talking about, the story of your business, what it is that you do. The way you tell that can either start a movement and grow and you can scale and become massive, or it can leave you in obscurity and nobody really knows what you do and your great idea can go unnoticed. So we help you tell the story. We've worked all over the world in, Mexico, US, China, coached over 2,000 entrepreneurs now, I should say, and helped raise over $50 million of US in investment. And we're a member of the Dent Global KPI Accelerator, and we've worked with all these great companies. I'm taking a second to brag there. So the curriculum that we go through. This is what we're covering today, and I'm going to introduce this to you first. Sorry about my dog there. She's so excited, and I think this is her afternoon walk time, but she's going to have to deal with it. Step one is awareness, and that's what we're going to be covering today. What is going on when we make thoughts in our head and then sounds with our mouth, and then they travel into somebody else's ears and then go into their brain? What is actually happening there, and how can you start to master that process? That's what awareness is all about. And we'll go into a bunch of that today. Articulation is what to say and how to say it. So more storytelling, advanced performance techniques. Action is about get up and do it. So put yourself on camera, start filming yourself, start putting your content out there, start pitching, and gauge it. What are the metrics you can use to see if you're being successful or not? Alignment is going deeper into your emotional and personal story, figuring about what makes you tick as a person and how do you bring that into your sort of founder persona. When you're talking about your business, how can you be as real and authentic and passionate as possible? And then automation is the productivity hacks and all those sort of stuff that entrepreneurs are always trying to learn, but putting that into your speaking skills, improving your speaking, improving your rehearsal and writing strategies, and improving your mental health. And that's a big part of what I talk about as well. So today is awareness, step one. Or act one, as we say. Here's the prologue to act one, humans and stories. What do you see here, Craig? What does this image say to you?
Sorry, I was muted. What is this? This is...
What do you see going on there?
I see community. I see learning and communication, storytelling.
That's right. That's exactly right. And did these people seem modern to you or ancient?
Oh, looks like they're deer skin there and antlers, so it seems like a long, long time ago.
That's right. And that basically exactly what this is supposed to represent, which is storytelling in a tribe, in a community, and passing a message on. But there's something very important that this person is doing here. They're acting out something. And this, what I believe they're acting out, or my interpretation, is a life and death scenario with some kind of an animal who almost killed the guy. Or he's acting out, maybe this is where the deer are, and we eat the deer and we skin the deer, so this is where the deer can be found. Either way, he's telling a story of life or death consequence. That made us evolve in a certain way. And all of this to me starts with evolutionary psychology. And so we have to know the 4 effects that evolution had on public speaking, which are as follows. Number 1, communication skills became essential. How did we live together in tribes of 150? That's the Dunbar number. That's how many people tended to gather in tribes, almost like exactly across the world in different cultures. 150 seemed to be the group. How could we gather in 150 and not kill each other, tear each other apart, steal from each other? How were we able to work together? Communication skills. They became essential for joining a tribe and cooperating with a tribe and navigating the hierarchies of that tribe. Number 2, we all became addicted to story, because story, as this guy is doing here, helped us understand what was going on. The things we needed to know to survive, we could tell each other stories. So if one of our tribe found where the prey was or the predators were, they could tell the rest of us. If they told it in an interesting way, we'd remember and we'd find the food or we'd avoid the danger. But if they told it in a boring way, we'd forget and then we'd die, right? Very simple. That's how evolution worked. So we all now are the descendants of the storytelling animals. Great book by Jonathan Gottschall called The Storytelling Animal. Highly, highly recommend. The third thing that happened, we developed anxiety, which allowed us to get away from danger, right? You're chilling on the savannah, you hear a sound in the bushes and you go, oh shit, and you run away and you get out of there because your breathing slows down to allow yourself to, your heart rate speeds up and your body floods with cortisol and adrenaline, and certain functions like your rational brain kind of shut off and everything just goes towards you being able to get out of there. But nowadays, of course, that is the opposite of being present. The more anxious you are, which is, let's say, worried about danger, the less you can just kind of chill and be in the moment and focus on what's important. But we all have this as human beings. Some of us, unfortunately, more than others, myself included. And the other thing is tribal status became life or death back then, right? If you had status in your tribe, then you could mate with someone, get their protection, or you could ally with someone and form stronger bonds. You know, your tribe would give you'd get the pick of the best food, and how you spoke when you stood up in front of the campfire could help you gain or lose status. But then these days, when we're all sitting around talking in front of each other, it's our turn to stand up and talk, and we go, oh my God, this is a terrifying experience. Why am I so nervous right now? It's because our DNA still holds this memory of this was so important back in the day, to not say something wrong, not be seen as lying or untrustworthy, because they would kill you. They'd throw you out of the cave, throw you to the wolves, or just stab you with a rock, and then you're dead, right? So all this stuff really, really has a huge effect on how we speak in public and how we communicate with each other, and it's very important to start there for me. But now, we don't live like that anymore. But the principles at play are still governing us. Evolutionary psychology is still a deep part of what motivates us, what makes us human, what drives us. So we just have to figure out how to understand that process and bring it into modern day and make it work for us instead of against us. So how do we do that? The question is, how do I get better? Here's how. You think like an actor. When I was at theater school, the first thing they told you to do was sit on a bench or in a park or on a subway and watch people and take a notebook. When you watch people and become really curious about the minutia of their facial expressions, their body language, and the tone of their voice, and become curious about what that means and signifies, you start to tell stories about those people, and you start to glean information about how they feel. Are they anxious? Are they angry? Are they happy? How do you know? If they're talking to someone on the phone, can you guess at the relationship with the person on the other end of the phone, not even seeing them or hearing their voice? Also, you start to tell stories about that person and guess at their emotional life. Do they have kids? Do they not? How old are they? What do they do for work? And you just become insatiably curious about studying and imagining other people's lives. And that's what actors do. We say that actors are professional humans, meaning it's our job to study people and use that information on stage or on camera. That's what an actor does, and that's what you can do too to become a way better speaker and communicator, storyteller, leader, all those good things that you need to do. And the last thing I want to say in the prologue is when speaking, you only have one job. And this is what we'll cover today in starting to unpack this. You have to make your audience understand, and you have to make them care. If you do these two things, it doesn't matter if you put all the relevant statistics that you research and you're really excited about. It doesn't matter if you fumble a couple words. If you notice, I'm always fumbling my words and it doesn't tend to matter. What matters is that you have a really clear story, compelling story, and they can understand that story, and there's something emotional that they can attach onto, which will make them give a shit, first of all, and make them remember it, and then possibly share it, and then probably buy. I see Craig's cat is there. We've been invaded by the animals today, which is great. And this is one of the perks of working from home. We get to chill with the animals. And so this is what I call the golden rule of speaking. So act one, scene one, self-awareness, vocal and physical. So very few people ever get taught how to do this. This is so important. How can you become aware of your own vocal and physical habits? Well, what we say is your body and your voice is your instrument, right? So just like if you're studying guitar. Craig, did you ever study guitar?
I never studied, but I practiced.
You didn't study, but you practiced. Yeah, right. Well, I think a lot of people do that, especially with guitar. It's a very common instrument to self-teach, and yes, you can learn so much, on YouTube and stuff these days. But when you first pick up a guitar, you have no idea what's going on. You start to fumble around with it. But eventually you start to feel it and you start to be able to do things kind of subconsciously, unnaturally, become really, really fluent and be able to do things and convert what you hear in your head and have it echo out through the sound body, through all the tension of the strings and all the acoustics that make the instrument make its magic. You start to be able to do that. The more you study, the more you practice, the more you maintain the actual instrument, the better you get at it. And it's just like speaking. People don't think about that because they speak every day, right? So you think, oh, I know how to speak. Incorrect. You can play guitar every day, but if you don't practice it properly, and if you practice bad habits and you don't take care of the instrument and you don't really work on it and think about it, you'll never sound good, right? Same thing with speaking. So how can we start to become aware of how we're speaking, how to speak better, let's say, how to speak with more purpose, more passion, more clarity, all those sorts of things? This is the image that I use. Craig, what do you see here? I think you're muted.
I apologize. Yeah, my mouse froze there too.
Yeah.
I see a sound mixing board.
That's right. And so engineers will use this, or recording engineers or sound people at events when they're mixing a band or a live rapper or speaker or singer, whoever they're doing, and they adjust the dials till they get the sound perfect. And they're constantly adjusting because musicians will change tempo and they'll change dynamics and things will get louder or softer, faster, slower. And just by adjusting a little bit, or the way a DJ will adjust the speed of the song, or the clarity of the sound, or the volume, and then people will lose their minds after just changing one little slider, and it changes the overall aesthetic. And that's how you can start to think of your speaking skills. So check these out. These are what we call the OutLoud speech settings. Volume, how loud you are or how soft you are. Most of us, we can tend to think about this, right? That's usually where speaking advice starts from people who aren't speaking coaches. They go, oh, you could just be a little louder. Can't quite hear you, right? But of course, a 10 is really weird and inappropriate, and it's grating. We don't like it, right? But of course, a 0 is weird and creepy. Kind of sounds like ASMR, you know? And nobody wants that unless you're actually listening for an ASMR video. You want to find a nice healthy in between. I usually try to push people a little more to the 8 range rather than a 5 or a 6. But of course, it's just about, can we hear you? But that being said, the more volume you have, usually you are seen as being a bit more into it. Yeah, a bit more excited, but not always. Again, these all play into each other. So it's not just that you should be at an 8 all the time. You should be able to adjust your volume depending on what moment you are in speaking. What are you saying? What are you trying to communicate? And where should your volume be to help communicate that? Pace, how fast you are talking or how slow. And again, maximum of 10, which is as fast as you can possibly talk, minimum of 0, which is completely impossible to listen to and boring. Usually people talk too slowly. Usually people talk too quickly and we have to bring them down, but sometimes you get people who talk too slowly. This one tends to be a bit more up in the air. I don't tend to see a strict tendency here. It's just about becoming aware of it and going, am I talking too fast or am I talking too slowly? Am I always talking at the same pace and I'm not stopping? Or can I put some variety in there, which variety is super important. Pitch, how high or how low you can speak. High pitch tends to be really exciting, but can be a bit childish. And low pitch tends to be kind of, authoritative, confident, but it's boring. So we want to have access to all these different ranges and use them in the moment that we want to get our point across. Clarity, how much you are enunciating your syllables. Too much sounds condescending and annoyingly pretentious, and too much sounds too cool. I don't have to move my mouth properly. No. We want somewhere in the middle, and this is actually often a huge constant with all the tech entrepreneurs I work with. They're always low in clarity. This is an epidemic among young people my age. Everybody's mumbling. The mumble rappers and the mumblers on YouTube, and all the people are talking with no clarity because they think it makes them sound old and ancient and not cool. But we need to hear what the hell you're saying, and also clarity helps with impact. You can say $28 million, or you can say $28 million. Which one's going to hit harder, right? Inflection, musicality of your voice. How up and down you are going. This one's really interesting because a lot of people at a 0 are completely monotone. So find some music. Find how up and down you can go. Physical expressiveness, how much you're using your hands and your body to tell the story. Even more important on camera, right? Because we can't see the whole body. You can't walk around. You got to start painting the picture here. Can you see me, by the way, Craig, right now?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. all this stuff that we have in here, you got to start using this, and hands are a great way to get there. Facial expressiveness. Are your eyebrows doing anything? A lot of people, their eyebrows are doing nothing. This will make you look interested, make other people look interested. We have mirror neurons, right? If you see somebody with their eyebrows raised, you are more likely to have your eyebrows raised. And then you trick your brain into going, wow, this is really interesting. So many hacks that we can use. Groundedness, I'm not going to talk about because that's usually to do with walking around on a stage, which these days is not happening all that much. So speech settings. I'm going to be sharing this document, look at it, and then start to guess where your speech settings are. Think, do I tend to be at a 9 for a volume or a 2 or a 4? How's my pace? How's my pitch? And start giving yourself a number. And the number is so good because it takes it out of the judgment. Instead of being like, oh, I'm so obnoxiously loud, you could just say, oh, my volume's at a 9. I could maybe bring it down to a 7, see what that does, right? Instead of saying I'm a mumbler, I sound like an idiot, just say, oh no, my clarity is just a little low. I can just work on bumping it up, right? And it becomes a technical project rather than a like, oh, I suck. And all of these are fixable with a bit of mindfulness and a bit of rehearsal. You can fix these issues. You're not stuck anywhere. People tend to think there are good speakers and bad speakers. It's not true at all. Everybody can learn how to do this stuff. So now we get into breathing. Breath. The breath is the fuel of the voice. Your car will not run with no gas. Your voice will not run with no breath. How do we get more breath, and how do we breathe more deeply and more powerfully? Here's the breathing exercise, and I'm going to get everybody to do this in a second. Notice how this person is inhaling. They are using diaphragmatic breathing, which means that as they are inhaling, their diaphragm is lowering, allowing their lungs to expand. And if you look at this GIF, or this thing over here, oops, this guy over here, is this going to start? Oh yeah, let me pause this one. Well, these guys don't want to work. So this one on the left, is it going to work? Yeah, there we go. So you see, the belly goes in on the exhale and the belly goes out on the inhale. As you inhale, the belly goes out, and as you exhale, the belly goes in. So this one is really easy to start to do, but I'm going to do it in the larger context of a warm-up. Now, why do we warm up? Craig?
To not injure ourselves, to be in peak performance, so we're not starting cold.
Peak performance. That's the key, right? Yeah, it's good not to injure yourself, but if you think about a professional athlete, like they could probably, LeBron could probably play a basketball game and not injure himself, I would guess, because he's always training, his body's probably ready to go. Most elite athletes are, I think. But they warm up to get their mind and their body ready for peak performance. And that's what you should do before you speak. Nobody warms up before giving a huge webinar or a huge pitch. They're like, I just got to start. And then if you notice, a lot of people start really, really slow and low energy. As they get into it, they start to build, but they're not starting with that bang and that all important first impression where people first start hearing you. People are cold and dull and slow, and they're not engaged. What a waste of an opportunity to start with a bang and really grab people's attention. So warm up before you speak. How do we do that? Boom. Here you go. Number 1, body scan first. This is a mindfulness meditation. I'm going to go do a really quick version of this now, but this is something I'll talk about in a bit. So sit in your chair, close your eyes, and put your feet on the floor. Come to the edge of your chair and take a nice deep breath in. And just pay attention to how your body feels. Are your legs tense or tight? Is your torso tense, tight, being held in a weird way? Just notice. Do you have any aches and pains? Are you hot or cold or somewhere in between? I'm personally sweating right now because I don't have the AC on because I don't want the sound to mess with what we're doing here. So I notice that I'm hot, and that's just something to notice. And take a look at your emotional state. How are you feeling? Are you feeling worried, irritated? Are you thinking, this is stupid? Why am I doing this with my time? Are you thinking, I feel really energetic and awesome today? It's fine. Whatever it is that you're feeling, just notice it and don't have to change it or judge it. Good. Now, as we're sitting here, we're going to go to the next thing, which is belly breathing, as I showed you. So put your hands on your belly, one hand on your belly and one hand just under your collarbone on your chest. And as you breathe in, I want you to feel most of the movement happening in your lower hand. So the belly should be pushing your lower hand out as you breathe in. And it should be guiding your lower hand back towards your spine on the out breath. breathe into the belly, filling it up. And breathe out. Good. Give me one more of those. Breathe in. And out. Good. Next up is sighing. We want to get the voice going. Just like a song sounds best when the guitar is nice and resonant. A pitch or a speech will sound best when the voice is nice and resonant. So breathe into the belly and go, ah. Sigh out with resonance. Can you try that, Craig? I'm going to put you on the spot.
Sure.
Beautiful. Well done. Next, we're going to take that even further and breathe in and then go, make even more sound. Try that, Craig. Beautiful. Try to make even more noise on the and even more of a release on the ah. Yeah, even louder. Bump that volume up. Good. Now, the problem is you're letting too much breath out. You want to trap the breath a little bit to make resonance. So instead of going, you want to go, Can you try that? Nice. Okay, next we're going to do a quick little bit of singing. So I want you to go, Can you try that?
Sure.
Beautiful. Really belt it out. Don't worry about staying on tune. Don't worry about it sounding nice. This is all to get the voice going. Beautiful. Getting nice and resonant there. Next, we're going to do an exercise called big face, small face. Big faces, you go like this. You gasp in and you widen your features out, and small faces, you go like this. I like to think of it as big face is you see your friend at an airport halfway across the world. So you go, and small face is you're 3 years old and your mom told you can't have another cookie. So you go, so big face, small face, big face, small face, big face, small face, big face, small face. Good. Get those facial muscles working. And last one, we're going to do tongue twisters. So we're going to do just this one today. Red leather, yellow leather.
Red leather, yellow leather.
Good. Again, we're practicing. It's like training for the gym, right? Peak performance. So the more consciously and more effort we put into the tongue twisters, the better our voice and our articulator muscles are going to sound as we're giving the pitch, right? If you start your pitch and go, hey, everybody, welcome to my pitch. I want to talk to you about this. You have no sharpness, no clarity in your words. They don't hit as hard. So we practice by exaggerating the clarity in our warm-ups and in our daily exercises to get those hard-hitting syllables to work for us. So red leather, yellow leather. Try that.
Red leather, yellow leather.
Red leather, yellow leather.
Red leather, yellow leather.
Good. 3 times fast. I'll do it. You repeat. Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather.
Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather.
Beautiful. Nice. That's the warm-up. All of a sudden, everybody, if you've been doing with me, you can feel it, right? You feel the same as you did before, or you feel much more energized. Please write in the chat how you feel now versus how you felt before. Just write that in the chat. I'll see if we can get a couple of responses there. Can you read those out, Craig?
Yeah, the first one says great.
Yeah? Awesome. Great is a good word. Yeah. Any other responses? How you guys feel?
More energized, Jennifer says.
Awesome. That's it, right? We're trying to make ourselves feel more energized. You guys feel that if you were to do that right before a big talk, you would start from a much stronger place and be able to deliver your talk with a lot more engagement, entertainment, and interest to your audience?
Absolutely. And, when you do this live, it's completely different, but do you really feel your state of mind and everything change?
Yeah, totally. And it goes from also being, oh my God, people might be looking at me. Are they going to like what I have to say? Am I going to remember everything? Is my slide deck going to work? All those distracting thoughts. We just get into, no, just be energetic, excited, clear, get those articulator mouth muscles working. Just get into it. Be excited and enthusiastic. All that other shit, won't matter if you are enthusiastic. I'm not allowed to swear on Facebook, am I?
We haven't gotten in trouble yet.
I'm sorry. Okay, hopefully that's fine. So, Act 1, Scene 2, mental and emotional self-awareness. We were working on vocal and physical self-awareness. We get to now mental and emotional self-awareness. mindfulness. Mindfulness, mindfulness, mindfulness. I cannot stress this enough. This is the key for me to all of the self-awareness. And this also helps with vocal and physical too, because you're thinking about how your body is sitting, you're thinking about where your shoulders are and where your face, what your face muscles are doing, but it's also about your mental and emotional state. You cannot be an effective speaker if you cannot be present. It's not possible. Because the act of speaking, convincing, persuading, informing, urging, enlightening, entertaining, all of that needs a deep connection with the actual meaning of the words that you're saying. And if you can't be present and focus on that, forget it. Nobody's going to feel it. If you're thinking about what I'm going to make for lunch after I'm done this webinar, everybody will sense that. And they'll kind of hear your words and kind of go, oh, yeah, that's kind of interesting. But if you're there with them and going, guys, listen to what I have to say. Listen to this. Listen to how passionate I am about it. Listen to how important it is. $28 million, right? 17% increase, whatever the things you're saying are, the more connected you are to the reality of how important are these things, how good are they, how bad are they, how urgent is it, all these things that you're trying to paint for your audience. You cannot do that if you're focused on what the cheese sandwich you're about to eat, right? It's not possible. You got to be in the moment. And the way to train yourself to be in the moment is through mindfulness meditation. Now, for those of you who think it's really new agey and science-y, pseudo-scientific, I get that perspective because that's how I used to feel. But there's tons of science on the matter now. It improves cognition. It's been proven time and time again. Harvard University found that. Forbes found that it reduces distraction. What speaker wouldn't want to, or an entrepreneur in general, improve their cognition and reduce their distraction? So important for doing work, especially work from home. How do you block out the dog and the kids and everything that you've got going on, or Facebook and Twitter? How do you do deep work, get into a flow state? Mindfulness will help you get there. And it's also been proven that just a little bit a day will help you. So I cannot stress this enough. And I'm going to take you guys through a quick meditation to show you how to do that. How are we doing for time, Craig?
We're doing fine.
Doing okay? Okay, great. Quick meditation to show you how to do this. Oh, before I do that, I'd love to talk to you about anxiety versus presence. We talked about anxiety before. Anxiety is an evolutionary advantage, actually. Those human beings that were able to never relax and be anxious and paranoid survived. And those who didn't, those who were just chilling and were like, oh, everything's great, they got eaten by the lions, right? So we have this inheritance of anxiety. It means it's natural, it means it's human, and it means you're not alone. But unfortunately, it gets in the way of some very important work that we're trying to do in modern times. And the truth is, now you are not in danger of being eaten by a lion at any time. We have these safe little cubicles, hopefully some people in the world obviously aren't always safe, but most of us in the cities, we can kind of spend a little bit of time relaxing in our apartment, knowing that more or less we are safe. If you have that luxury, and it is a luxury, think about what that means. You can really start to let go of a lot of the anxious thoughts and physical sensations and things that stop you from being present. And why is anxiety so bad for public speaking and communicating? Because anxiety is distracting. It makes you go, huh, what was that? Oh shit, what are they thinking about? Are these people liking what I'm doing? How's my hair? How's my clothes? Am I sitting in a weird way? Am I talking in a weird way? Do I look good on camera? Oh, what was I supposed to say? What am I having for dinner later? Oh no, I'm getting lost. All that kind of ruminating thought processes distracts us. It discourages us. Anxiety makes us feel bad and sad for no reason. That's just part of it, because that's the process that made us go, something's wrong, I gotta fix it. It's assuming. We see somebody's face in the audience who looks a little bored, and instead of going, oh, maybe that's just their listening face, we go, they must hate it, and so I suck. It's also reactive. You ever notice when you're super anxious, you maybe had too much coffee, or you're just kind of on edge, and somebody slams the door behind you, you go, oh! It's like you way overreact, right? But if you're chilling, if you're just calm, somebody slams the door, you go, oh, what was that? And you kind of turn around coolly. That's the difference. Self-conscious. The enemy of public speaking, passionate communication, is self-consciousness. Destroys our confidence, destroys our ability to be present. Presence, on the other hand, is the opposite of all this. It helps us be focused. It helps us calm our minds and our nervous systems down. Helps us be curious. If that person is listening, instead of assuming that they don't like it, going, maybe I could talk to them and ask them a question to make sure they're engaged, which might be good, right? Maybe they are bored, but you just don't know. So you just look at them and go, hey, Craig, what do you think about mindfulness? And then you engage your audience member. And it's in control rather than reactive. So you might have the thought when you're anxious, oh my God, I'm talking too fast. And that may be true. But if you're in control, if you're present, you have that thought and you go, okay, I'm just going to consciously slow down rather than kind of going, oh shit, yeah, I'm talking too fast, which gets you out of your zone, right? You need to be present to do that. And it makes you self-aware versus self-conscious. Self-awareness is a beautiful thing. It's a good thing. Knowing where your hands are, bringing them up if you want, knowing what your voice is doing, where your speech settings are at, if your audience is understanding you. Self-awareness is good and it's non-judgmental. That's the key difference. So quick mindfulness meditation. I'm going to do a very, very brief version of this for everyone because normally it's 3 minutes. I'm just going to do a 1 minute version because there is science that says 1 minute of mindfulness can have a huge effect. And there's a great app called 10% Happier, which is called Meditation for Fidgety Skeptics. And it's great. It really breaks it down scientifically and practically and how you can use it. So let's take a listen. Let's take a look at this. So I'm going to ask you to come to the edge of your chair again. And this is going to be a little longer, but I really encourage you to go into this with an open mind. It's going to be super quick. It might not even be a full minute, but just see if you can relax, slow your breathing, and follow along to the instructions. Yeah? Begin by bringing your attention into your body and allowing your eyes to close. Notice your body seated, wherever you're seated, and feeling the weight of your body on the chair and the chair on the floor. And take a few deep breaths, as we did before. In through the nose for a count of 4, filling the belly, and exhaling out through the mouth, with the belly contracting back toward the spine. As you inhale, bring more oxygen in, enlivening the body. And as you exhale, have a sense of relaxing more deeply. Mindfulness simply means paying attention. This meditation is like a training exercise for your brain, making it better at focusing, at shutting out distraction, at calming the nervous system and the mind. You can notice your feet on the floor and the sensations if there's weight and pressure or vibration or heat. Notice the back of your legs against the chair if there's any pressure or pulsing. Bring attention into your stomach area. Is it tight or tense? If so, let it soften and take a breath. Notice your hands. Are your hands tense or tight? And see if you can allow them to soften. Same thing with the arms. Feel any sensation you can notice. Notice your neck and throat. Let them be soft. Relax. And soften your jaw and your face and your facial muscles. Then notice your whole body present, from your feet to the top of your head. Notice it as a whole. And take one last deep breath. And out. And open your eyes. How does that feel?
Feels great. Like letting go of a lot of stuff.
Yeah. The physiological response to this is crazy. Now, it may not work for you the first time or the 10th or the 100th, but eventually, I promise you, if you stay with this, this will be one of the best things you've ever taken up. It's changed my life completely. The reason I even did it in the first place was because I was very badly injured and bedridden, and the depression and anxiety around my injury and worrying if I was ever going to get better was actually making my injury worse, as I learned later from the doctor. And he, prescribed therapy and meditation, which I got into at the time, not thinking it was any good or necessary for a human. And then now I kind of am a bit of a convert, and I'm a big proponent of those two things, because I just felt the profound effect it had on me. And I did a lot of reading and realized that it really does help a lot of people, especially during this time of COVID panic, COVID anxiety. You can see it and feel it in yourself and with other people, right? You can feel the world is on edge, and that is a huge, huge factor. And people are suicidal, people are getting injured, people are reporting intense anxiety, people are feeling horrible and abandoned and angry and scared. And all of that is justified because of what's going on. But what you can do is allow those really loud thoughts and physical sensations and feelings that come about when we start to get trapped up in that, and start to let it go. And so that you can be calm and focus on what it is that you need to take care of and get done. And of course, the profound effect of that is that you will have a way better public speaking energy when you get on camera. You can probably notice the difference between me before and me now, right? After just leading you through that. I feel a lot more centered, a lot more calm, and I'm able to slow down a little bit and be clearer with what I want to say. And I find that days that I meditate, I'm a lot clearer on what I want to say, and days that I don't, I'm not. So just to finish off really quickly, to get back to what we were doing, I'm going to leave you with one last thought, or a couple last thoughts, which is, how can we understand how our audience members are thinking and perceiving our information? We've done a lot of work on self-awareness. How do we cultivate the awareness of others? And that's Act 1, Scene 3, the third part of today, awareness of others. I talked before about the golden rule. You need to make them understand and make them care. Well, there's actually two different ways to do that. And they kind of fall under two different, let's say, pillars. The two ways in. The understanding, making people understand, logic, the thinking brain, being analytical, taking an academic approach, thinking with your head, what Daniel Kahneman calls the system 2 brain, what a lot of Chinese culture would refer to as yang, like with yin and yang. This is one side of human processing of information, but the other is actually arguably more important, or at least more primal and more premier in our brains. When we receive information, we usually think with our emotions first, and that's how you make people care. Emotions, feelings, being empathetic, experiencing things experientially, thinking with the heart, system 1, yin, all of these. There's so many dichotomies in different cultures, order, chaos. Some people call it the masculine and the feminine. There's all these different ways of talking about this dichotomy of logic, and logos and pathos is another one that the ancient Greeks used. You have to think about information with both. And way too many tech entrepreneurs are stuck in the logic pillar, the understanding pillar, the thinking, analytical, numbers, critical, all that stuff, which is great. And that's necessary, but it's not the whole picture. So my job is to help you think about emotions. This brain thinking fast and slow describes this process really, really well. So I just want to go back to something before, which is, if you can speak to people's emotions, then you will have their attention and you will make them recall what it is that you are saying. And there's this research that says consumers who are more emotionally engaged with a branded video are more likely to share it, more likely to remember the brand, and more likely to buy the product. So speak to people's emotions. Where's my last slide there? There's one last slide I want to show you, but I think I've lost it somewhere. Yes, I've definitely lost it. That's fine. So before we go today, I want to give people a chance to get up and pitch if they want, or ask questions and answer them. And I just wanted to say that I have this stress check-in, which you can print out and put by your bedside. Questions like, is my heart beating fast? Is my jaw clenched? Are my shoulders tense and held high? Am I breathing in my chest or my belly? Am I tapping my fingers? Am I feeling angry? All of these things are ways that you can connect with your sort of emotional state. And then there's some things to do, to breathe, to look away from the screens, to do some stretches, all that sort of stuff. It's a great little cheat sheet something I use every day and something that can be really helpful. So I will share that with anybody who wants it at the end. But now I want to say goodbye and tell everybody, just remind you of the golden rule, which is that all you have to do is make them understand and make them care, and you've done your job. I know I've thrown a lot of information out there today, but this is the golden rule. This is what you have to understand. Make them understand by speaking clearly and loudly enough, and make them care by speaking to their emotions and by showing that you care. That's really the job. So that's it for today. That's part one. Craig, any questions? Any questions from the chat?
No questions so far, but if you want to give us a 1-minute pitch and get feedback from Will and I, just put up your hand or let us know in the chat room. We'll give you the ability to talk and give us that pitch. If you have any questions, put them in there. And while we're waiting for that, if people want to find out more about you, Will, and your services, where would they go?
So I can actually just put a list to my Calendly in there. A lot of people I just tell to find me on LinkedIn. But if you want to book a call with me, I'm offering free half-hour consultations. So you can just come, bring your pitch or bring your marketing problems, struggles, how you're struggling to appear in public speaking events, anything related to your story, your messaging, your marketing, your content creation. I'm just giving free strategy sessions. So you can book something with me and I'll just provide the link right here.
Are you going to put that in the chat window?
I sure am. 1 second, please.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And last call for anybody who wants to get pitch feedback.
Oops.
Or have any questions about pitching.
There's my Calendly. Anybody can click that link and just book something with me. Yeah, and just to tell you a bit about the course that we're offering, it's a 6-month communication overhaul with a bunch of founders and leaders, mostly in the tech space, but it can be any business leaders. It's about how to become a powerful leader, speaker, and content creator. So getting more confidence with your story, digging deep into that, providing you with assets, and we help you film videos and put them out there on social media. And that's a program that I'm starting to run on January 15th of 2021. So I'm going to start, registration is going to be open for that. I'm going to kick it off with a presentation on September 30th, but that is something that anybody can sign up for through me, and I'll be providing more details on that as people come if they're interested in it.
Yeah, you sent the link just to the panelists. I just put it to everybody there.
Oh,
sorry about that. Yeah, there's the link. So let me ask a couple of quick questions.
Sure.
You just coached a whole lot of people through TechStars. What was the one big thing or the most common thing that you had to really that they needed improvement on as a whole?
Like the most consistent thing I always see is just a lack of enthusiasm and commitment to what they're talking about. And that is totally understandable because people are nervous. They don't like public speaking, or they don't want to kind of be, they don't want to seem unprofessional by being too excited and enthusiastic about what they're talking about, but it just reads as flat and boring and like they're not engaged with their company. And then all I got to do is give them first of all, point that out, give them a couple tweaks, say maybe be a little louder in the volume, a little louder in the pitch, use your eyebrows, smile. When you talk about this really exciting traction that you've accomplished, or you talk about, your growth, or you talk about how much faster your solution allows your customers to do whatever it is they're doing, show some pride, show some excitement in what you've accomplished and what you can accomplish in the future. Show some anger and frustration at the pain points that people are going through, which is why you started your company. Give yourself permission to be more engaged, and that will be more engaging. It's what I see with almost everyone. I would say easily 85 to 90% of my clients are the same thing. Way too quiet, way too calm, way too like, in the past 10 years, we found blah, blah, blah. Just get into it. Get those eyebrows up, get those hands up. Speak with more passion and purpose in the way that I'm doing now. Emphasize those key words and just lift it up, and you will see amazing results.
Anxiety is pretty common in public speaking, as you mentioned. And, you're on stage. Some people blank. I forget stuff all the time.
Totally.
And, and I've learned to accept the fact, but a lot of people haven't because they haven't spoken as much as I do. And,
Totally.
if I mess up a word here and there, in the end, I don't care now. I used to.
Because you know that nobody else does.
Yeah, and that I try and get the message across and make sure people understand and communicate the idea. And once you have that, it's great. But once you have to learn to accept your flaws, accept that was a flub, and stop thinking about it, because
just let it go. Yeah.
If you're thinking about it, you're going to ruin the rest of your...
So my stepmother is a stage manager in theater. And so what a stage manager is responsible for doing is calling all the like lighting and sound cues up in the booth of a show. So when this light is supposed to come on the back right, and they have this huge, there's so much to think about, and they've got to really be on. If they blank out for a second, they can totally miss a cue. But what she told me was, if you If you worry about a mistake you just made, then you're off for the whole rest of the show. But if you let it go right away, the audience is never going to notice.
Absolutely.
Right? So the actors might notice, oh, that light usually comes on after that line, but nobody in the audience will notice. But if you're like, oh, shoot, I missed that cue, and you stay despondent and beating yourself up about it, then you're done for the rest of the show. You've got to learn to just let it go. So what I always say is forgive yourself immediately. And it's a great life lesson as well. You fuck something up, forgive yourself immediately. Who cares? It's in the past. You can't do anything about it. It may have been wrong. It may have been damaging. It may have been really consequential, but get over it. There's nothing you can do now except forgive yourself and try to move on. And with most mistakes when public speaking, you don't even have to fix it. You just keep going and talk about the next thing. People forget so easily. You know, this is what you learn from years of performance and public speaking. Nobody notices your mistakes. They don't know what it's supposed to look like. You do, right?
Yeah, and go ahead.
So sorry, Craig. I have to run because I have another call right at 1.
It's 1 o'clock. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, but it's been such a pleasure doing this. And next time I'm going to leave more time for questions at the end. But it was really great. Thank you for everyone for being here. And if you're watching this, thank you so much. And I hope it's useful for you. And you can get in touch with me at Will Greenblatt on LinkedIn. Shoot me a DM if you have any questions regarding this stuff and about the Powerful Pitch program. And thank you for being here.
Thank you for your time, Will. Appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Bye.